Good. It's Andrew from ProducerSociety.com. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make guitars sound a little bit better in Garageband. So for this tutorial, this is a song for a client that I haven't even touched yet. Everything is kind of stock the way it was sent to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the fundamental things that I do to get everything to sound a little bit better right away. And it's fairly straightforward. What I do is I use a compressor and I use a parallel compressor. So I use a parallel compression preset on the Rough Rider 3. I use channel EQ. I pan the guitars and then I eliminate certain sounds and extraneous noises just to make everything sound a little bit better. And that's essentially what I do to get everything to sound good in GarageBand. Now, there's other things that you can do as well, and it also depends on the type of recording. But I'll do other videos for like different guitar tracks and whether there's a distortion or not, etc. But anyway, so the first thing that I do when I get a project is I lower all these VU meters way down. I get those way down because there's no reason for them to be that high. 0 dB is clipping and all DAWs, so in any digital format. So just drop everything down right away. And the next thing that I do is that I pan this to the left like that. And then a common thing that I'll also do is I bring up the gain plugin, or the gain plugin, and I put on everything in mono. And I just kind of intermittently switch between mono every once in a while just to make sure everything sounds good. But anyway, so we're going to play the track for you right now just to give you an idea of how everything sounds.
Non è semplice fare finta che questo sia solo un gioco che non fa per me.
So I'm just switching between mono, and that's essentially what I do when I listen to or when I mix music. I'm always switching in between mono and between stereo. But anyway, so as I said before, is that I pan the guitars to about this level. I find that that's good. For the panning. It's also going to free up a lot of space in the stereo image, so there's a lot more room for the other instruments in the mix. You're also going to find that when you pan them to the left and right like that, it's going to have the effect of lowering the volume just because it's kind of spreading them out. But anyway, so what I do is I click on my guitar track, and then I bring up the audio units, audio damage Rough Rider 3. I'm going to bring that up on this other one as well. Rough Rider 3. I'm also going to bring up the channel EQ right away as well, just because I always use it and we're going to end up using it, so we're just going to put it on. So what I do is that I used to do a parallel compression technique where I already touched on it in another video where I show you like how to duplicate the track and et cetera, et cetera. I'll put the video link in the description, or I'll put it on the top right of the screen or whatever. But anyway, so we're going to go down into the presets of this guitar. We're going to choose New York Parallel. We're going to choose the same one for this one as well. And I'm going to show you what that sounds like now. So that did a lot, brought up the volume, kind of made everything a little more chunky. However, we're not done here. So I'm going to drop this ratio down to 5:1 because 8:1 is pushing it. That's quite a bit. And I'm also going to drop the threshold. So now our guitars are beefed up. Like you can hear that a lot, right? However, we're not done. That I feel like that is the brunt of the processing and the brunt of what really gets them to stand out. However, the next big thing is your EQ. So what I'll use is a clean-up guitar. I'm actually going to just play it in the background, and I'm gonna show you what it sounds like when you make the change.
Non è semplice fare finta che
So here we go. I'm gonna do a comparison right now just to show you the difference. So here's what everything sounds like without compressor and channel EQ. So you notice how everything just kind of sounds lifeless and kind of mid-rangey. So we're gonna put these back on. I'm gonna show you what that sounds like. And here it is without EQ. And here it is with EQ. You notice how it kind of gets rid of the mid-range. So it kind of just makes it sound a little more clear and a little better. Another thing that I do is that on this particular track, I'll actually probably jack that up a bit because it sounds like there's too much honkiness on this right guitar.
non è semplice fare finta che questo sia solo un gioco che non fa per me, come un lampo che illumina la mia notte, la mia oscurità. Sembri inspiegabile, ma era non andare adesso che sei come me. Se sarò fuoco, tu sarai benzina su di me. Se sarò fuoco, tu sarai benzina su di me. Ogni ormai vanno avanti uguali, sempre la stessa merda, che noia sai. E poi penso quanto mi divertirei con te ad ammazzare.
So you notice how when these guitars stick in like that, they sound a lot better.
Noia sai. E poi penso quanto mi divertirei con te ad ammazzare il tempo.
There's just more power and they're cleaner and they sound better in pretty much every way. Now, there's actually more that I would probably do to this as well. Like I would probably go in and make individual changes depending on what part of the song. So for instance, during these courses, there's a lot of high range in those guitars, and in conjunction with the high range guitars and all the other instruments playing at the same time, there's almost like too much high range and it causes like ear fatigue.
Tu sarai benzina su di me. Se sarò fuoco, tu sarai benzina su di me.
So yeah, what I would do from here is that I would either use EQ automation to adjust the guitars so they, oh whoops, I don't want to do that. Yeah. So I would either use EQ automation or I would do volume automation. So maybe I would drop them out even more.
Se sarò fuoco, tu sarai benzina su di me. Adesso che sei come me. Se sarò fuoco, tu sarai benzina su di me. Se sarò fuoco, tu sarai benzina su di me.
Or another thing that I would do is I would use EQ automation. So I would go channel EQ on both these plugins, or excuse me, on both these tracks. And then I would use the second channel EQ as an automation tool rather than as the main automation, or excuse me, rather than as the main EQ. So, you know, what you do from here is, I've already showed you how to do this in my other video, but you just set up automation on the channel EQ plugin. That way you can attenuate certain frequencies at a specific part of the song and then turn them back off, turn it back off afterward. And so that's what you can do. Another thing that you can do to make your guitar sound better is like during parts where, like, you can just use automation to adjust the volume at certain points of the song. So for instance, so there, when the guitars get a lot louder, they sound awesome. So here, this guitar is like this. So like, say if you wanted this guitar to ring out a little bit more, you just throw in some automation like this. And then you just jack it up a little bit for this section. Or you could do the same thing for the choruses, like you jack up your guitars during specific parts. You know, don't underestimate volume. Like, you can use volume automation during different parts of the song, and it's really going to help your guitars sit better at various points of the song. And that applies to everything too. It applies to your vocals and everything. Like, I never used to do that with the vocals. Like, I would just put a compressor EQ on it and that was it. But I find that it's a lot better to actually go into the mix and make individual adjustments in volume automation to make everything sound the best at each point in time in the song. But anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. I'd talk about the amp designer and stuff more, but I already have videos on that, and I don't want to turn this into an amp designer tutorial. But anyway, so just to sum everything up, for guitars, like the main things are the following, like compressor, EQ, panning. And those three things right there, that's going to make a huge difference in how they sound. And additionally, you can do things like reverb and delay and so on and so forth. Another thing I want to talk about, though, before I end this video, is that you also want to eliminate extraneous sounds from your mix. So what I mean by that is, I'll show you right here in this other song that I did. So, so when you look at this file, you can see that these guitars have been edited out here, right? And the reason for that is because there was a lot of string noise and stuff. So I'm going to play it for you right now. So you can kind of hear the way the guitars are all getting ready to play, right? Well, that's all fine. You know, that's normal, but let's just eliminate that. So you just pull out these guitars and then have them start playing when they're supposed to. See, you hear how clean that is now? And additionally, you can do this in all parts of the song, you know? So if, like, let's say, like here there's no guitars playing in this particular subsection.
Cercando una risposta.
So even though you can't really hear those sounds, there are sounds there. So, you know, might as well get rid of them, right? Might as well get rid of that part of the song, because there's no reason for that to be there. And there's little sounds there. And while you can't hear them exactly, they actually do come through in the mix. And you want to make as much space for actual instruments as much as you can. You know what I mean? Like, you want to get rid of all these little sounds here and there. Now, not all of them. Like for vocal breaths, for instance, you don't want to get rid of like every vocal breath, because it just sounds unnatural and weird, you know? But if you really want to take advantage of what your DAW can do, and you want everything to sound very clean and very, very nice, then you can get rid of little things like this. So we'll hear that again.
Cercando una risposta. io mi sono perso cercando una risposta.
See what I mean? So it definitely cleaned up all that. So yeah, do that in different parts of your recording, and you're going to have the effect of cleaning everything up and making it sound really good. Additionally, you can do this with Melodyne too. Melodyne is really amazing at this. I don't have the studio version anymore. I only have Melodyne Essential, unfortunately, but I'll be getting the updated one eventually. But in Melodyne, you can print your track in, and then through the polyphonic algorithm, it'll actually pick up all the notes and the chords that are being played, and that it'll also pick up on the mistakes, so you can actually go through and like delete the individual mistakes out of the recording, which is really awesome. You know, a lot of people will complain about this and say, oh, it's not real music then, but I mean, this is just the way things are going. You know, everybody wants perfect music, and that's the way it's going to be. Yeah, I guess that's up for debate, though. It's really up to you. I don't want to start like a flame war. But anyway, yeah, I hope this was helpful to you. Make sure you like and subscribe, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. But before I wrap up, I'm going to tell you one more thing, just to wrap everything up again. So, like, you got the following things. You have, you know, compression, EQ, panning, and then volume automation adjustments throughout individual points of the song, and then eliminating extraneous noises. And those are kind of the main things for getting everything to sound really good. But anyway, now we're wrapping up. I'll see you in the next video.